The room was filled with a suffocating silence, broken only by the hushed voice of the surgeon, who trembled as he asked, "Mr. Cross, are you truly willing to take the kidney of your own newborn daughter to save Miss Monroe? The child has just come into this world. She has not even been held by her mother yet. If we stop the surgery now, it is still not too late." Julian Cross's answer was as cold as winter steel. His tone calm, detached, almost bored. "She can become a donor for Bianca. That is her fate." Another doctor hesitated and whispered, "But sir, if Mrs. Morgan discovers this, if word ever gets out—" Julian's eyes hardened, his voice laced with irritation and contempt. "Ava is nothing more than a tool. I will give her another child. That is enough. Do as I said." A single tear slid from the corner of my eye, burning my skin as it fell. At last I understood why he had rushed me into pregnancy. Right after our wedding, why he seemed so eager to see me carry his child. I had believed it was love that he longed for a family with me. But in truth, I was only a vessel. Our baby was only a sacrifice, a commodity, a heartbeat destined to be bartered for the life of the woman he truly loved. The marriage I once thought was the gift of fate, the fairy tale I held so tightly, was nothing more than a carefully scripted play, a cruel lie performed to perfection. Julian's order came again, cold and sharp. "Enough. Prepare for the operation. Bianca's life matters more than anyone else's." The reason I married Ava Morgan in the first place was because she was obedient, submissive, and willing to carry a child for me, a child that could save Bianca. With her background, she would never have married into the Cross family otherwise. Silence, everyone. If Ava learns the truth, none of you will ever work again. The doctors fell silent. They turned away to obey. And in that heavy silence, I heard it, the piercing cry of my baby girl, so fragile, so desperate. My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. I tried to rise to scream to stop them, but the sedative coursing through my veins chained me to the bed. My eyelids were heavy as stone, my limbs lifeless. My silent screams drowned in the suffocating stillness. A hand brushed against my face, warm, familiar, a touch I once welcomed with all my heart. His hand. Julian's voice hovered over me, deceptively gentle, dripping with false affection. "Ava, you will not blame me, will you? Later I will give you more children. Many more." He bent down and pressed a kiss to my forehead, as if he were a devoted husband, while in truth he was delivering me into a nightmare. The sedative deepened its grip, pulling me into darkness, dragging me into a sleep filled with despair and powerlessness. When I opened my eyes again, Julian was seated at my bedside. His face was a mask of sorrow, his voice hoarse as he clutched my hand with cold, trembling fingers. "Ava, our baby is gone." He broke into what seemed like grief, his eyes red and wet, his tone choking on tears. Her lungs were underdeveloped. The doctors tried everything, but they could not save her. He wept with such skill that even the nurse who entered the room dabbed at her eyes in sympathy. And I realized then some people could act so flawlessly that their lies became indistinguishable from truth. His love for Bianca Monroe ran so deep that he could bury his conscience without hesitation, trading my child's life for hers, and then weep over the grave he had dug. Perhaps it was my stillness that unsettled him. He studied my face, searching for cracks in my calm, then pulled me into his embrace, as if he feared I might shatter. "Ava, do not leave me. I have already lost our child. I cannot lose you too. Promise me you will stay strong. Promise me, please." His words fell heavy with desperation, but there was no warmth in them for me. I listened cold and silent, my heart already turned to ice. When I gathered enough strength, I whispered, "Where is my baby? I want—" But before I could finish, his phone rang. I saw it then, the flicker of panic in his eyes, before he quickly masked it. He stood already slipping back into his role of businessman, controlled and calm. "Ava, the company needs me. There is an urgent matter. Call me if you need anything." He left in a rush, abandoning me without a second glance, leaving my question met unanswered, leaving my arms empty, leaving me to drown in grief. I wanted nothing more than to hold my daughter, even if only her ashes. For 4 days after that, he never returned. The postpartum body is fragile, vulnerable to the cold, yet I wrapped myself tight like a cocoon and completed the paperwork for discharge. Weak and hollow, I left the hospital alone. And then fate played its cruelest trick. As the elevator doors slid open, I froze. There he was, Julian Cross, tall and steady, carrying Bianca Monroe in his arms, as if she were the most precious thing in the world. "Put me down, Julian, this is embarrassing," Bianca's soft voice echoed through the elevator, laced with mock protest. Yet her tone was dripping with affection. He chuckled, his deep voice warm with indulgence. "Stop fussing, you know, I cannot let you walk just yet." The spacious elevator suddenly felt suffocating as I pressed myself into a corner, too weak to stand tall, my body trembling against the rail. All I had to do was lift my head, and there he was, the man I had once loved, with every beat of my heart standing tall and unwavering, holding another woman, as though she were the center of his universe. Bianca nestled in his arms like a docile kitten, her every movement small and delicate, crafted to make her appear fragile, irresistible. That same sight, that broad back and confident stance, used to fill me with happiness. Now it felt like a blade carving through my chest, each second a deeper wound. The physician standing beside them smiled in amusement. "Miss Monroe, you're truly blessed. He treats you with such care, it's enviable." Bianca's coy laugh slipped into the air, sweet and poisonous. "Blessed, he guards me more fiercely than a mother guards her child. I cannot even touch my phone. He refuses to let me order takeout, and he won't even let me take a step out of bed. Tell me, how is this blessing?" Julian lowered his gaze to her, his voice low and tender, faced with the kind of reproach that carried affection rather than anger. "You disobeyed orders before. If I do not take care of you myself, if something leaves you with scars or lingering pain, the one who will suffer most is me." Their exchange drew laughter from everyone in the elevator, warm and indulgent. Everyone except me. I stood there drowning in silence, watching like a ghost. My heart collapsed under the truth that had been staring me in the face all along. All those days he disappeared, he had been here beside her. He knew how to be gentle, how to worry, how to protect someone, just not me. He forgot that I existed, forgot that I had just given birth, that my body was too frail to hold itself upright. He forgot that I had just lost our child. He once told me Bianca was more important than anyone else, and now I understood the depth of that declaration. She mattered, I did not. My child did not. This farce had lasted too long. It was time to end it. I left alone, catching a cab back to the empty home that should have been filled with laughter. My heart was already numb, or so I thought, until I stepped into the room and my eyes landed on the tiny crib. The sight ripped the breath from my lungs. My knees buckled and I collapsed onto the floor, trembling violently, sobs tearing from my throat in waves. "My little one," I choked my voice. "Breaking your mother is useless. I could not protect you." The room blurred through my tears, every corner a reminder of what I had lost. In that haze of grief, I remembered how Julian never accompanied me to shop for baby clothes or toys. I had excused it, thinking men disliked such things. But now the truth burned like acid. He had never planned for our daughter to live. He had never intended for me to cradle her, to hear her laugh, to see her smile. Our child was only ever a tool. A bitter laugh escaped me, jagged and hollow. I swallowed the pain and forced myself to sit at my desk. My hands shook as I typed, but I pressed print, watching as the divorce agreement slid out of the machine. This was my only weapon left. Before I could shut down the computer, a notification popped up. Julian's account had not been logged out, and the screen flashed with a new post from Bianca Monroe. My breath caught. She had posted a picture of a table piled with nutrient-rich food, captioned with a playful complaint. "Someone is being too much. It was only a minor surgery, but he wants to fatten me up like a pig." My stomach twisted in hunger. I looked down at myself, my body gaunt, my stomach hollow from a full day without eating. I stumbled into the kitchen, my hands trembling as I ripped open a packet of instant noodles, devouring it greedily, as though it could fill not just my stomach, but the empty cavern of my heart. Late in the evening, Julian finally called. His voice was sharp, impatient. "Where have you been all day, Ava? Do you enjoy making people worry?" When I told him I was at home, he switched to reproach, as though I were a child who had misbehaved. "You are too old to act so irresponsibly. Get a cab to the family estate. My mother insists we all have dinner together tonight." "I am exhausted," I murmured, my voice flat. "I do not want to go." "You must!" He snapped, his tone leaving no room for argument. "You gave birth naturally. It has been 5 days. You should be fine by now. Do not make my mother upset." And with that, the line went dead. Before the call ended, I heard it. A woman's soft, sugary voice on the other end, playful and demanding. "Julian, kiss me." I laughed bitterly, clutching the divorce papers in my hand. My resolve was set. I ordered a cab to the Cross estate. When I arrived, the driveway was crowded with luxury cars. Every driver had been summoned, every car polished and waiting, yet not a single one for me, because I was not worthy. As I pushed open the doors, the sound of laughter washed over me. Julian sat at Helen across his side, Bianca on his other, the three of them glowing like a perfect family portrait. Bianca wore a designer dress, her skin glowing with health, her smile radiant, as though she had never known illness at all. I, in contrast, still wore the wrinkled clothes from the hospital, my hair unkempt, my face pale and hollow. I looked like a beggar, not a wife. I stared at her and suddenly thought of my daughter. The blood that flowed in Bianca's veins was my child's blood. The kidney keeping her alive was my daughter's. Rage flared inside me, scorching and uncontrollable. My fists clenched as I glared at her with all the fury of a mother robbed of everything. Bianca's eyes widened in feigned fear, her voice dripping with false humility. "Ava, please do not be angry. Sit down, join us." Julian immediately pulled her back into his arms, his face dark with annoyance as he turned to me. Julian's eyes turned on me cold and sharp, his voice filled with irritation. "Ava Morgan, what is that sour look for? Who are you trying to impress with that grim face? I told you to come have dinner with my mother, yet you dragged your feet and showed up this late. Bianca just went through surgery. Her body is still weak, and yet she sits here keeping mother company. Instead of being grateful, you show nothing but attitude. Apologize to her now." Before I could even answer, Bianca's eyes glistened with tears, her voice trembling in carefully measured weakness. "Julian, don't. Ava didn't mean it. She probably just doesn't like seeing me so close to everyone. She is your wife, I am the outsider. If someone has to leave, it should be me." Helena Cross's hand struck my cheek without warning, the sound echoing across the hall. My face stung, but the pain was nothing compared to the humiliation. Her eyes glared at me with disgust as she spat. "You wretched woman! You couldn't even keep a child alive. How dare the Cross family ever bring such misfortune into this house? You are a curse, a blemish, Julian. Why keep her? Divorce her at once. Throw her out." Julian faltered, his composure breaking for a moment. "Mother, it wasn't Ava's fault. She was careful during the pregnancy. She did everything she could. It was the baby who was born weak. Enough." Helena snapped her voice like a whip. "I don't want to hear another word. Get rid of her. Now." I was shoved backward, my frail body hitting the cold marble floor. Julian rushed after me, crouching to lift me up, his voice softening. "Ava, don't take it to heart. Mother is only grieving. She didn't mean it. Don't hold it against her." I shook my head slowly. None of it mattered anymore. My decision had already been made. I was leaving. Seeing the emptiness in my eyes, Julian exhaled as though a burden had been lifted. A faint smile tugged at his lips as he said, "I knew it. My wife is always the most understanding. Let me talk to Mother. Don't be sad. Come, I'll take you home." He reached for me, pulling me to my feet. But before we could take a step, Bianca's voice rang out from inside, soft and pitiful, breaking into sobs. "Julian, it hurts. My wound, it hurts so much." Julian instantly dropped my hand, his arms abandoning me as though I were nothing more than a shadow. I stumbled, my body striking the door frame, the pain jolting through me, but he didn't notice. All I saw was his figure rushing toward her, scooping Bianca into his arms with frantic care. His voice thundered with urgency. "Call the doctor now." I stood frozen in the doorway, a hollow figure watching the scene unfold like a forgotten extra in someone else's story. The servants brushed past me, their whispers laced with venomous ridicule. "Look at her, a sparrow dreaming of being a phoenix. Does she not know her place? She is not even worthy to carry Miss Monroe's shoes. She thought that just because she clung to Mr. Cross when Miss Monroe studied abroad, she could become mistress of this house. Pathetic. She will never compare to even a fingernail of Miss Monroe." My chest ached as if their words were knives. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I was the woman how Julian had knelt before, with 999 roses, proposing beneath the weight of the stars. I was the woman he swore to honor, the woman he brought into this house as his wife. Was that night nothing but theater too? Did even he forget? Deep into the night, specialists were summoned from every corner of the city, a team of doctors hovering around Bianca Monroe, checking every organ, every breath, every detail of her body. Even her urine was tested repeatedly, as though her well-being was the only treasure worth protecting. When they confirmed she was in perfect health, Julian arranged a private helicopter to whisk her away, making sure her recovery was flawless. And me, I sat outside in the garden, invisible, shivering against the cold stone bench as the wind tore through me. My body trembled not from illness, but from abandonment. Hours passed and no one noticed. Not a servant, not a friend, not my husband. I gathered what strength I had left and climbed the stairs, my intention simple: to ask Julian to call a driver and take me home. But as I neared the door, I froze. From within, Bianca's voice spilled out, soft, seductive, laced with laughter. "Julian, I want you, just a little, please." His voice was low, restrained, yet already breaking. "Bianca, don't. You just had a transplant. If I lose control, if I hurt you, Her giggle was like poison wrapped in honey. "I am not afraid. Why should you be? You have been waiting so long, haven't you? While Ava was pregnant, you must have suffered. Let me make you happy. Don't you want me?" Julian hesitated. Silence thickened. Then her voice cut through, sweet and cruel. "And if this kidney fails, it doesn't matter. You still have Ava. She can give you as many children as you need, as many kidneys as Bianca Monroe desires." I pressed a trembling hand to my stomach as nausea surged. Every word was a dagger. And then Julian spoke, slow and deliberate, each syllable a betrayal. "You are right. Her body is strong. She can bear more. It would be fine." Bianca laughed softly, triumphant. "Then smile for me, Julian." The sound tore me apart. My stomach clenched, bile rising to my throat. I could not bear another second. I stumbled backward, turned, and fled down the hall. Tears blurred my vision, hot rivers that carved through my face as my body heaved with silent screams. I ran as though I could escape the echo of their voices, but the truth followed me, suffocating me with every step. The man I once loved, the man I once believed in, had reduced me to nothing more than a vessel, a body to be used, a soul to be discarded. Julian's eyes turned on me, cold and sharp. His voice filled with irritation. "Ava Morgan, what is that sour look for? Who are you trying to impress with that grim face? I told you to come have dinner with my mother. Yet you dragged your feet and showed up this late. Bianca just went through surgery, her body is still weak, and yet she sits here keeping mother company. Instead of being grateful, you show nothing but attitude. Apologize to her now." Before I could even answer, Bianca's eyes glistened with tears, her voice trembling in carefully measured weakness. "Julian, don't. Ava didn't mean it. She probably just doesn't like seeing me so close to everyone. She is your wife, I am the outsider. If someone has to leave, it should be me." Helena Cross's hand struck my cheek without warning, the sound echoing across the hall. My face stung, but the pain was nothing compared to the humiliation. Her eyes glared at me with disgust as she spat. "You wretched woman, you couldn't even keep a child alive. How dare the Cross family ever bring such misfortune into this house? You are a curse, a blemish. Julian, why keep her? Divorce her at once. Throw her out." Julian faltered, his composure breaking for a moment. "Mother, it wasn't Ava's fault. She was careful during the pregnancy, she did everything she could. It was the baby who was born weak." "Enough!" Helena snapped, her voice like a whip. "I don't want to hear another word. Get rid of her. Now!" I was shoved backward, my frail body hitting the cold marble floor. Julian rushed after me, crouching to lift me up, his voice softening. "Ava, don't take it to heart. Mother is only grieving, she didn't mean it. Don't hold it against her." I shook my head slowly. None of it mattered anymore. My decision had already been made. I was leaving. Seeing the emptiness in my eyes, Julian exhaled as though a burden had been lifted. A faint smile tugged at his lips. As he said, I knew it. "My wife is always the most understanding. Let me talk to Mother, don't be sad. Come, I'll take you home." He reached for me, pulling me to my feet. But before we could take a step, Bianca's voice rang out from inside, soft and pitiful, breaking into sobs. "Julian, it hurts. My wound, it hurts so much." Julian instantly dropped my hand, his arms abandoning me as though I were nothing more than a shadow. I stumbled, my body striking the door frame, the pain jolting through me, but he didn't notice. All I saw was his figure rushing toward her, scooping Bianca into his arms with frantic care. His voice thundered with urgency. "Call the doctor now." I stood frozen in the doorway, a hollow figure watching the scene unfold like a forgotten extra in someone else's story. The servants brushed past me, their whispers laced with venomous ridicule. "Look at her, a sparrow dreaming of being a phoenix. Does she not know her place? She is not even worthy to carry Miss Monroe's shoes. She thought that just because she clung to Mr. Cross when Miss Monroe studied abroad, she could become mistress of this house. Pathetic. She will never compare to even a fingernail of Miss Monroe. My chest ached as if their words were knives. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I was the woman Julian had knelt before, with 999 roses proposing beneath the weight of the stars. I was the woman he swore to honor, the woman he brought into this house as his wife. Was that night nothing but theater too? Did even he forget? Deep into the night, specialists were summoned from every corner of the city. A team of doctors hovering around Bianca Monroe, checking every organ, every breath, every detail of her body. Even her urine was tested repeatedly, as though her well-being was the only treasure worth protecting. When they confirmed she was in perfect health, Julian arranged a private helicopter to whisk her away, making sure her recovery was flawless. And me? I sat outside in the garden, invisible, shivering against the cold stone bench as the wind tore through me. My body trembled not from illness, but from abandonment. Hours passed and no one noticed. Not a servant, not a friend, not my husband. I gathered what strength I had left and climbed the stairs, my intention simple: to ask Julian to call a driver and take me home. But as I neared the door, I froze. From within, Bianca's voice spilled out, soft, seductive, laced with laughter. "Julian, I want you. Just a little, please." His voice was low, restrained, yet already breaking. "Bianca, don't. You just had a transplant. If I lose control, if I hurt you, I—" Her giggle was like poison wrapped in honey. "I am not afraid. Why should you be? You have been waiting so long, haven't you? While Ava was pregnant, you must have suffered. Let me make you happy. Don't you want me?" Julian hesitated. Silence thickened. Then her voice cut through, sweet and cruel. "And if this kidney fails, it doesn't matter. You still have Ava. She can give you as many children as you need, as many kidneys as Bianca Monroe desires." I pressed a trembling hand to my stomach as nausea surged. Every word was a dagger. And then Julian spoke, slow and deliberate, each syllable a betrayal. "You are right. Her body is strong. She can bear more. It would be fine." Bianca laughed softly, triumphant. "Then smile for me, Julian." The sound tore me apart. My stomach clenched, bile rising to my throat. I could not bear another second. I stumbled backward, turned and fled down the hall. Tears blurred my vision, hot rivers that carved through my face as my body heaved with silent screams. I ran as though I could escape the echo of their voices, but the truth followed me, suffocating me with every step. The man I once loved, the man I once believed in, had reduced me to nothing more than a vessel, a body to be used, a soul to be discarded. Hot tears blurred my vision, burning trails down my face as I stared at the bedroom window where the muffled laughter still echoed. That was our bedroom. Our wedding portrait still hung above the headboard, my smiling face frozen in time beside his distant one. Yet Julian dared to defile that space, to desecrate the vows we once made, to commit this betrayal openly, as if I were invisible. How could he be so unfeeling, so shameless, to take the life of my child, only to keep alive the woman he adored? I must have sat motionless in the garden for hours, the numbness settling into my bones, until a shock of icy water poured over me. My body jolted violently, trembling as the chill carved through me. I looked up, and there she was, Bianca Monroe. Her lips curled into a smirk of triumph. "Ava, look at you now. You resemble nothing more than a stray dog." Her tone was casual, cruel, as if she were discussing the weather. "You've served your purpose well. Your daughter's kidney is serving me well." My legs gave out beneath me, weakness rushing through my veins until I nearly collapsed. She leaned down, her voice a hiss of venom against my ear. "But your poor little girl. Do you know how pitiful she was?" Julian refused anesthesia because it might damage the kidney. They sliced her tiny body open while she cried, ripped it straight from her. And when she was sent to the crematorium, she was still breathing. Can you imagine the sound of her cries as she burned? A searing pain ripped through my chest, as though my own organs were being torn apart. My vision spun, my soul screamed the agony unbearable. My baby, my precious child. How terrified she must have been. How much she must have suffered. She was a living being, the life I carried for 10 long months, the blood of Julian Cross himself. And yet they slaughtered her as though she were nothing, as though she were less than human. Murderers. Monsters. I lunged at Bianca, a mother's fury consuming me, desperate to wrap my hands around her throat, to end her the way she ended my daughter. But before I could touch her, she smashed her own head against the stone column and screamed, "Help! She's trying to kill me!" A violent force shoved me to the ground. Pain radiated through my back as Julian stormed forward, scooping Bianca into his arms protectively. He turned on me, his voice roaring with rage. "Ava Morgan, how dare you harm her? Do you want me to ruin you to make sure you never walk out of here alive?" Bianca buried her face into his chest, her sobs shaking her frame. "Julian, I only wanted to check on Ava. I thought she looked cold and wanted to bring her upstairs. I didn't think she would try to hurt me. It's my fault. I should never interfere with your family. Please take me away. Don't be good to me anymore." His arms tightened around her, his eyes blazing with hatred when they met mine. "If you want to lose your mind, do it somewhere else. Do not bring chaos into this house. Bianca has been here longer than you. She is family. You are nothing. You have no right to touch her, no right to cast her out." When agony cuts too deep, there comes a point where even pain dies. All that remains is numbness. My lips curved into a bitter smile, my voice shaking, but icy. "She is your family, then what am I, Julian? What is our daughter to you?" For the briefest flicker, panic crossed his gaze, but it was quickly smothered by coldness. "I know you are grieving, but you will not take it out on Bianca. She just had an appendectomy. She cannot bear this kind of stress." A laugh burst from me, jagged and broken, the tears streaming freely down my cheeks. "An appendectomy? Julian Cross, does your conscience not choke you with its silence? Do you not fear retribution?" Helena Cross's voice cracked like a whip across the hall. "You cursed woman, how dare you, to speak such vile words against my son?" Her hand slammed across my face with brutal force. "Drag her to the cellar, beat her until she learns her place." Julian's brows furrowed, but his voice was still ice. "Let it go, mother. Keeping her here only disturbs Bianca's rest. Throw her out. Consider it a lesson." And with that, he carried Bianca away in his arms, not sparing me so much as a glance. The tender moments we once shared, the gentle words and embraces, all of it dissolved like ash in the rain. Outside, the drizzle seeped into my skin, the cold reaching straight into my heart. The servants shoved me toward the gates, discarding me like refuse, like something unworthy of their notice. Beyond the iron gates, beneath the vast, indifferent sky, I was utterly alone. Step by step, I dragged myself through the night until dawn broke. When I reached my apartment, silence greeted me. The walls were painted in shades of gray and black, the air devoid of warmth. On the wall still hung our wedding photo. I was smiling so brightly, baring all my teeth glowing with joy. Beside me, Julian's lips barely curved, his eyes flat, cold, detached. I had been so foolish. I believed love was enough. That to see him was to feel my heart race. But if he had ever truly loved me, he would never have kept that distance in his gaze. I was such a fool. To love a man so blindly that just seeing him was enough to set my heart racing, to fill me with happiness. If Julian had ever truly loved me, how could he have kept that same cold, detached look in his eyes all these years? In silence, I began to pack my things. What could be donated, I set aside for charity. What no longer mattered, I threw away. Then I picked up our marriage certificate, the paper I once treasured like a sacred relic. I held it to the flame and watched as it curled and blackened piece by piece, falling to ash, dissolving into nothingness. Not long after, my phone rang. His name flashed across the screen, Julian Cross. "Ava," his voice was gentle, warm. The perfect imitation of a devoted husband. "What I said yesterday was only to protect you. I didn't want my mother to punish you too harshly. Don't be afraid. Once Bianca recovers, I'll take you abroad for a vacation. Please don't grieve too much. Our child will come back to us, I promise. Don't break my heart. Don't make me worry." His voice was so tender, so convincing, like he was truly a man who loved me. But I could only laugh. How long did he plan to keep up this charade? How much longer did he think I would play the fool in his little drama? "Where are our daughter's ashes?" I asked coldly. "I want to hold her one last time." For a moment, silence stretched across the line. Then Julian sighed. "They're still at the crematorium. I've been too busy to arrange her funeral. But don't worry, I found the perfect burial spot in Seven Oaks Cemetery. It's the most expensive plot, the best of the best. She'll like it there." My hand tightened around the phone. Without another word, I hung up, grabbed my suitcase, and went straight to the crematorium. When they placed that tiny urn in my arms, I realized my eyes still had tears left to shed. They fell hot and heavy, one after another, soaking the cool porcelain. My darling, don't be afraid. Mommy is taking you home. To our real home. Later, as I waited for my flight, my phone rang again. Julian's voice burst through panicked. Ava, you have her ashes in your luggage. Where are you going? Someone at the crematorium must have told him. I didn't want to argue anymore. Didn't want to give him a chance to interfere. A small smile touched my lips as I lied, my tone light, almost playful. I'm just taking her to see the burial plot first. All the toys in my suitcase are for her. Relief filled his voice. Good. Let me come with you. Where are you now? Before I could think of an excuse, a soft, honeyed voice floated through the line. Julian, my mother asked us to go shopping and have lunch together. Come outside with me. I could hear his hesitation. Ava, I smiled faintly, my voice steady, calm. It's fine. Bianca's health matters more. Go take care of her. He chuckled, his voice brimming with joy. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll spend the evening with Bianca now, but I'll come home to you tonight. I ended the call, removed the SIM card, and without hesitation tossed it into the trash. Then without a backward glance, I boarded the plane. Meanwhile, in a lavish restaurant, Julian sat across from Bianca, but could not shake his unease. His right eyelid twitched nonstop, his gut heavy with a strange dread. His mind replayed the faint announcement he thought he heard in the background of our last call, the unmistakable echo of an airport loudspeaker. Anxiety gnawed at him until his assistant Ryan Cole burst into the room, his face pale as death. Mr. Cross, Ryan stammered, his voice trembling, the flight to Paris has crashed. And his throat tightened. Mrs. Cross was on the passenger list. Julian froze, his entire body locking into place, his blood running cold. In an instant, the air left his lungs. For a terrifying moment, he could not feel his own heartbeat. Then rage tore through him. He lunged at Ryan, seizing him by the collar, roaring like a madman. What are you saying? Ava just called me. She told me she was only taking our daughter's ashes to the cemetery. How could she possibly be on a flight to Paris? Ryan struggled for breath, choking as Julian's grip tightened. It's the official passenger list, sir. I checked it myself. It's her. It's Mrs. Cross. Julian's head shook violently, his voice breaking, trembling. No, that's impossible. That's a mistake. His eyes were wild, bloodshot, refusing to accept reality. Beside him, Bianca Monroe pressed close, looping her arm around his. Her voice soft, comforting, though her eyes gleamed with hidden satisfaction. Julian, don't worry too much. Maybe this is all just a cruel joke. Bianca Monroe whispered, her tone a perfect blend of softness and malice. Do you really think Ava Morgan, who fought so hard just to marry into your family, would leave you so easily? Just a few days ago, she nearly tore me apart for your sake. Do you believe a woman like her would suddenly surrender her place to me without a fight? She turned to Ryan Cole, her expression mocking. Are you sure this isn't just some hoax call? Julian's fist clenched, his knuckles white as though he were clinging to the last fragment of hope. His eyes burned with a desperate light like a drowning man gripping a piece of driftwood. Yes, he muttered to himself almost feverishly. Yes, Ava loves me too much. She would never leave me. This is just her way of punishing me for not being by her side. She must be staging this, trying to scare me into chasing after her. But then Ryan handed him a phone, the screen displaying breaking news. The headline cut like a blade: Flight Mark 2123 crashes off the coast. All passengers confirmed dead. Julian's hand trembled violently as he snatched the phone. His eyes scanned the words, each one heavier than the last, until his vision blurred and his mind spun. His breath caught in his throat. Bianca quickly slipped her arms around him, her voice dripping with poisonous sweetness. Julian, don't be too sad. At least she gave you a child. A woman like that already had 2 years as Mrs. Cross. Even in death she didn't lose. Julian shoved her away with sudden fury, his eyes blazing red. His voice cracked like a whip. What did you just say? Ava is my wife. The woman I married, the only woman who belongs by my side. Watch your mouth, Bianca, or don't blame me for showing no mercy. Bianca's eyes flickered and she feigned hurt, clutching his arm again. I only worry for you. I don't want you to be deceived by her again. Don't you see? The timing is too perfect. She calls you one moment, then tragedy strikes the next. She must be faking it, manipulating everything so you'll soften and come after her. Helena Cross, who had been silent, suddenly sneered, her voice sharp and cold. Why are you lashing out at Bianca? Ava's death is a blessing. I was sick of figuring out how to throw her out of this house. A woman like her would never divorce you willingly. Not until she drained our family dry. You were bewitched when you married her, but thank God it's over now. Tomorrow we'll register her death certificate, and then Bianca will officially become Mrs. Cross." Julian stared at the two women, the mother he had respected all his life, and the lover he once thought he cherished. In that instant, they seemed like strangers, grotesque and unrecognizable. He shook his head, his voice trembling but resolute. No, my wife has only ever been Ava. She is my one and only. I have to find her. I cannot leave her out there alone. I have to bring her home." He stormed out of the restaurant like a man possessed, driving to the airport as if chased by demons. He prayed frantically, bargaining with heaven. "Please let this all be a mistake. Let the passenger list be wrong, just a cruel coincidence. Please let her be alive, just angry at me staging all of this to make me worry." But when the airport staff pulled the security footage, Julian's last shred of hope shattered. On the screen, Ava appeared calm and distant, clutching the small urn close to her chest as she made that final call to him. Her eyes were cold, devoid of the warmth she once held for him. He watched her hang up, remove her SIM card, and throw it into the trash. Then without hesitation she walked toward the gate and boarded the flight. She never looked back. Julian's legs buckled beneath him. He collapsed to the floor, his hands trembling violently, his mind hollow. His voice came out weak, broken, yet desperate. No, Ava loved me too much. She couldn't leave me like this. This must be some mistake. If I explain myself, she'll forgive me. She's too kind, too gentle. She won't stay angry forever. Right, Ryan?" Cole stepped forward cautiously, his tone grim. "Mr. Cross, Dr. Patrick Vaughn called just now. He said he discovered something important." Julian's head jerked up, his eyes clouded with despair. "What is it?" Ryan's throat tightened. He hesitated, then forced the words out. "Dr. Vaughn said, when Mrs. Cross was unconscious, she might have overheard your conversation with him." It was as if someone had struck Julian Cross with a fatal blow to the head. His entire world collapsed in an instant. A suffocating fear swallowed him whole, pulling him under like a merciless tide. He whispered to himself in disbelief, his voice trembling, No, how could she have known? That's impossible." At the hospital, Dr. Patrick Vaughn furrowed his brows, his tone heavy with urgency. When the nurses changed the pillowcases, they found traces of tears soaked deep into the fabric. I immediately checked the surveillance footage in her room. During the time we were talking, Mrs. Cross was crying. The dosage of sedatives she received should have kept her numb, unable to process anything. But sometimes when grief and shock are overwhelming, the brain fights back. She may have been unable to move, but she could still hear everything. The doctor locked eyes with Julian, his voice steady, almost like a verdict. "Mr. Cross, even if you fire me today, I must say this. Your wife valued you more than her own life, and yet you treated her like this." His words burned with restrained anger. "Because your stomach was weak, she studied herbal remedies. Even during her pregnancy, she stood in the apothecary for hours, sweating in that stifling heat, refusing to leave until she had prepared the medicine herself. She said only if she made it with her own hands would she be at peace. She was so sick with morning sickness that she could hardly eat, but for the baby's health, she forced herself to swallow food, to exercise, to endure. When it came time for labor, her condition was unstable. The delivery was brutal. I suggested painkillers, but she refused, gritting her teeth through 10 agonizing hours. The child she brought into this world, with her very life, she never even got to hold, never even got to see his face. And you, Mr. Cross, while she endured all this, you chose to betray her." Dr. Vaughn's hands clenched into fists, his voice trembling with fury. "You could have loved Bianca Monroe. You could have divorced Ava. There were 1,000 ways to let her go. But why? Why did you choose the cruelest? Why push a mother to such despair? Enough!" Julian roared, clutching his head with both hands. His body trembled violently, his mind unraveling. He couldn't bear to imagine what Ava must have felt when she realized he had chosen to take their daughter's kidney for Bianca. He couldn't imagine how broken she had been in those final days, enduring agony alone while he turned his back on her. Self-hatred consumed him, a venom eating through his veins, leaving only the urge to destroy himself. Ryan Cole stepped forward quietly, his voice heavy. "Sir, there is something else. Documents. About Bianca's time in Europe. She lied to you." Julian's hands shook as he read through the file. Then he laughed, a hollow, deranged sound before slamming his fists against his own skull. The truth tore through him like shards of glass. Bianca, frightened, rushed forward and wrapped her arms around him. Julian, don't do this. Please, you're scaring me. I know you feel guilty about Ava, and I'll even help you choose the most beautiful grave for her. But I'm the one you truly love, aren't I? If I hadn't foolishly gone abroad, we would have never been apart. I promise I'll never leave you again. She tilted her head upward, lips parting as she tried to press a kiss to his. Once he might have surrendered to her touch, blinded by desire. But now revulsion surged through him. Julian shoved her hard, his palm cracking across her face. Get out. You think you deserve to be my wife. Bianca staggered back, clutching her cheek, tears spilling down. Julian, haven't you always loved me most? Shut up, he snarled, his hand seizing her throat, fury blazing in his eyes. The only woman I've ever loved is Ava. From the beginning to the end, it was always her. And you? His grip tightened, his voice venomous. You're nothing but a liar who never deserved my love. He flung the stack of documents into her face, the pages scattering across the floor like accusations. His voice was hoarse but unrelenting. You told me your family carried a genetic kidney disease. You said you left me because you didn't want to burden me. You said you would return once I found a suitable donor. You swore you only came back for one last meeting. I believed you. God, I was so stupid. I believed every word without question. I thought I loved you. Julian's voice trembled with madness, each word like broken glass. I thought you were the only woman I ever lost. That's why I was foolish enough to sacrifice my own daughter's life to save you. But what was the truth? You were in Europe, wasting yourself away, indulging until you destroyed your kidneys. And when you had nowhere else to turn, you came crawling back to me, pretending to be the loyal lover waiting for me to save you. Bianca Monroe's face went pale, her whole body trembling. No, that's not true. Someone must have fabricated all of this. How could I ever be like Ava Morgan, some pathetic, lowly woman? Someone is clearly jealous of us, trying to drive us apart. Julian, you have to believe me. Julian laughed, a sound so twisted it chilled the air. His voice was cold as steel. The night you collapsed outside my estate, Dr. Vaughn examined you. He found traces of dozens of different men inside you. Do you still want to lie to me? Bianca's knees buckled, her voice breaking. Julian, I was wrong. I was reckless, but I love you. I was young, I was foolish, but I swear I'll change. Just give me a chance. Ava is gone now. Let me take her place. I'll care for you better than she ever could. You dare speak her name? Julian roared, his eyes bloodshot with rage. You're not worthy. His chest heaved violently, his fury consuming him. If it hadn't been for you, Ava would never have believed our daughter had her kidney removed without anesthesia. She would never have believed she was cremated while still breathing. You fed her those lies. You pushed her into despair. Bianca, you killed Ava. And now you'll pay. He snatched up his phone, his voice sharp as a blade. The Monroe family, your time is over. Bianca collapsed at his feet, clutching his pant leg, wailing in desperation. Julian, please don't do this. I love you. He looked down at her, eyes filled with disgust. Love, Bianca, even hearing your name makes me sick. From that day forward, Julian was no longer himself. He abandoned the company. He never returned to the Cross estate. Instead, he locked himself away in the house that once belonged to Ava. He lay on the bed she had slept in, pulled the blanket she had once used, drank from the cup her lips had touched. He clung desperately to the remnants she had left behind, drowning himself in the ghost of her presence, like a wounded beast clawing for warmth in the ashes of a fire long gone. The marriage certificate he had once discarded without a thought, burned and charred at the edges, became his most precious treasure. He carried it with him, always stroking it tenderly, as if it were the only proof she had ever existed. The divorce papers once signed, he tore into shreds. If the papers no longer existed, then maybe, just maybe, their marriage had never ended. One evening, as if fate were mocking him, he stumbled upon her diary. Tucked between the pages, he found a story she had written about a charm he had once tossed into his car, without a glance. He never knew she had climbed 108 temple steps on her knees, praying with all her heart for his health. Julian went mad. In the pouring rain, he dug through the junkyard, where he had thrown it away. Hours later, soaked and trembling, he found the faded charm buried in the mud. He dropped to his knees, clutching it to his chest, sobbing like a child abandoned in the dark. The very next day, he traveled to that temple. Step by step, on his knees, he climbed. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. His knees split open, blood staining the stone, but he didn't stop. He begged the heavens, begged the gods, begged anyone who would listen to return her to him. Perhaps the heavens finally heard his prayer. Late one night, while Ryan Cole was away on business, Julian received a frantic phone call. "Mr. Cross, the search team has located traces of Mrs. Cross. She's alive." Julian's heart stopped. Without hesitation, he boarded the first plane out. By dawn, he was standing at the gates of an orphanage. And then he saw her, Ava Morgan, standing in the sunlight, smiling softly as children clung to her hands. Her face was serene, her presence radiant, untouched by the shadows of their past. She was alive. Julian's vision blurred, his hands shook violently, his throat closing with overwhelming emotion. He staggered forward, calling her name, "Ava, you're alive. Thank God you're still alive." Tears streamed down his face. He wanted nothing more than to pull her into his arms, to never let go again. But she stepped back, avoiding him. The rejection pierced him deeper than any blade. His voice broke as he whispered, "Ava, do you still hate me?" Her eyes met his, calm yet distant. "Hate. Once I hated you so much I wanted to die. But my daughter, she taught me how to love again." Julian froze. Ava's voice was quiet but resolute. "The year I left, I bought a one-way ticket to a place where no one knew me. I planned to end my life quietly without anyone ever finding me. Before boarding the plane that would have taken me to my end, I noticed the urn holding Tubao's ashes had cracked. Something inside me refused to let that be her resting place. I stepped off the plane to buy a new urn, and in doing so, I escaped what would have been a fatal flight. Tubao had saved me once again, and because of her, I chose to live. From that moment on, I no longer sought death. I changed my identity, stayed in this country, and joined a medical relief organization. I became a volunteer, dedicating myself to children suffering from kidney disease. Every ounce of love I had for Tubao, I poured into those children who still longed for life. Now my heart belongs only to them. There is no space left for anyone else. I shook my head softly, my voice calm, almost detached. Hating someone is exhausting, Julian. Leave. But Julian Cross, once a man who commanded empires, was now a desperate gambler throwing everything on one final bet. His voice cracked, drenched in sorrow. "Ava, I know I was wrong. If I hadn't been blinded by Bianca's lies, we wouldn't have come to this. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I can't accept this fate. We were happy once. Tell me, if I spend the rest of my life making amends, will you give me another chance?" His agony should have moved me, but instead I laughed, a sound bitter and sharp. "Julian, if you can bring Tubao back to life, I will forgive you. Can you?" I traced a circle in the air with my finger, my voice chilling. "If not for you, she would be running here now, laughing alive. A man who could sacrifice his own daughter has no right to beg forgiveness." I met his eyes, unflinching. "You want my forgiveness? Fine. Life for life. Do you dare?" His face turned ghostly pale. His lips trembled, but no words came. I turned away, cold and final. "If you don't dare, then get out of my sight." The silence was suffocating. After a long pause, I heard his voice, eerily calm, almost resolute. "Very well, Ava, wait for me." I ignored him. In this world, no one truly gives up power or wealth. I never believed he would. But days later, the news left me stunned. In broad daylight, Julian had forcibly taken both kidneys from Bianca Monroe and vanished without a trace. The Cross family tried to bury the truth, but the Monroes, ruined and feral like cornered dogs, lashed back with fury, dragging the Crosses into the mud. The scandal erupted across every media outlet. The president of Cross Enterprises had forced his wife to donate a kidney to save his mistress, indirectly killing his own daughter. Now he had turned on that same mistress, stripping her of both kidneys. The revelation sent shockwaves everywhere. Stocks plummeted, government contracts were cancelled, and the once invincible empire crumbled overnight. Julian Cross, once arrogant and untouchable, was now unrecognizable. His fine suits replaced by rags, his regal bearing reduced to a hollow shell. He was gaunt, broken, his former glory gone. One day he stumbled into the street and threw himself in front of my car. I braked hard, heart racing, only to see him standing there, eyes wild yet strangely alight with hope. From his chest he pulled out a small box with trembling hands. His voice shook, but his excitement was overwhelming. "Ava, finally, I've waited for this moment. I brought back Tubao's kidney. They say the soul can only rest when the body is whole. Now she can finally find peace." I stared at him, my emotions a tangled storm. I had never imagined he would make Bianca pay by returning what she had stolen from my child. Yet even so, could anything ever truly repair the damage I could not forgive him? Not after all the blood, the betrayal, the unbearable cost. Love and hate tore me apart, each side cutting deeper. My voice was quiet but firm. Julian, stop running, turn yourself in. For a moment he seemed stunned. Then he laughed, the sound broken, his tears flowing freely. Ava, you finally called my name again. He wiped his face, eyes burning with a strange serenity. I won't run. I'll return Tubao to you, and I'll face justice. I was never worthy to be your husband, never worthy to be her father. But this time, I'll take responsibility for everything I've done. His gaze softened, pleading, fragile like a child terrified of rejection. Ava, before I go, may I hold you once, just once? In the end, it was I who reached out and wrapped my arms around him. Julian smiled faintly, clutching me so tightly, as if letting go would mean losing me forever. For a long time we stood like that, neither willing to move. At last he released me, raised his hand in a small wave, and turned toward the police station. But before he could take more than a few steps, a crazed figure burst out from the woods. Ava Morgan, this is all your fault, you filthy woman. Go to hell. Bianca Monroe, wild-eyed and broken, lunged forward with a knife gleaming in her hand. The blade aimed straight at my chest. I had no time to react before another body threw itself in front of me. The sickening sound of steel-piercing flesh filled the air. Warm blood splattered across my face. Julian had taken the blow meant for me, shielding me with every ounce of strength he had left. He staggered but did not stop. With a guttural cry, he wrenched the knife from his own chest and drove it deep into Bianca's abdomen. Blood gushed, her eyes widened in shock. Her body convulsed, then crumpled lifeless to the ground. Only when he was certain she could no longer harm me did Julian collapse to his knees. His strength gone. I caught him before he fell completely, my hands trembling as I fumbled for my phone to call for help. But his weak hand closed over mine, stopping me. His gaze softened, his voice barely a whisper. Ava, to die in your arms, I feel so happy. His eyes, growing dim, still clung to mine as if he wanted to etch my face into the last depths of his soul. Ava, do you know, when I married you, I thought it was nothing more than convenience, a way to have a child that would save Bianca. But in the end, I realized the truth. The real reason I chose you was because I had loved you all along. I was just too much of a fool to admit it even to myself. His breathing grew shallow, each word weaker than the last. His trembling hand reached upward, grasping at something unseen. Ava, I see Tubao. She's standing there. Can you ask her to call me Dad? Just once. Please, Ava. Forgive me. Just once. His hoarse plea shattered my heart. My eyes closed, my lips trembling as I forced out a single word. Yes. His hand shook one last time, then fell limp. The breath left his body. The man I had once loved with all my heart, the man I had hated with all my soul, was gone. Love, hatred, ice, despair, everything dissolved into nothingness. Julian Cross was dead. I did not attend his funeral. With the life I had chosen under a new identity, I wanted no ties to the past. Yet even then, Ryan Cole managed to find me. He placed a thick folder in my hands. These are the personal assets Chairman Cross signed over before taking revenge on Bianca. He said he owed you far too much in this life. This money cannot make up for what he did, but he hoped you would accept it. He wanted you to live well, free from worry. I stared at the documents, emotions swirling inside me. It was an enormous fortune, one that could change countless lives. At first, I thought to refuse. But then I realized with this money I could save so many children battling kidney disease, give them the chance to run and laugh beneath the sun, so I accepted. On Qingming Festival, I went to the cemetery to visit Tubao. I brought the toys I had bought when I was pregnant, placing them gently beside her tombstone. And there, right next to hers, was another grave. I laid fresh flowers upon it. It was Julian's. Before he died, he had left a final request to be buried beside his daughter. I could not deny it. All I could do was stand between the two graves and whisper softly, Tubao, can you forgive your father if death truly leads to another world? Then Julian Cross, this time protect her well. Do not break your promise again. And with that prayer, I turned away, carrying both the weight of memory and the fragile hope of healing, determined to live on. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos.